Hey, Toy fans, D21B's Rob here, back with another Iron Fist episode review. With me, I've got Greg,
Hey there.
and I've got Jeff.
How's it going?
All right, guys, so we have now finished the third episode of the series so far. Greg, what was the title for this episode?
Rolling Thunder Cannon Punch, and I'm looking online to see if that means something. All I find is references to the Iron Fist series. So, as far as I know, that's not a thing before this episode.
All right, and it also seems to not really play too directly into the content of this episode, so that's kind of interesting too. Unless they're speaking in like a metaphorical term as far as, the legal stuff that starts towards the end.
Yeah,
So,
and could be a reference to the end of the previous episode when he uses his Iron Fist to break out of the asylum. I don't know. Or I guess
of
also
course.
when
Well,
he hit that guy in the records room.
oh, well, yeah,
good
there you
call.
go. Okay. Good call. So, all right, well, let's first just briefly say, do you like this episode or were you disappointed with the episode? Greg?
I'm liking it. Yeah, I mean, it seemed to go much faster than the previous two episodes for me too. Like, I mean, we got to the end, I was like, oh, it's the end already.
Right, right. Yeah, I was actually noticing a better pace to the episode as well. Jeff, how do you feel about it?
I enjoyed it. I liked Colleen's content in this episode more than I did in two. It got a little bit back into the legal jargon with Danny, which I'm not as big a fan of, but I mean it's needed. It's part of the show. So
Sure, sure. Yeah, this really was a highlight piece for Colleen Wing more than we've seen so far. So we got to see her dojo in action, the way her students behave and the way they're taught. And Danny even got in there and started doing a little teaching too, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, she
So,
wasn't a very figure out of
yeah,
yeah, right. Yeah, he was a little rougher on the kids than she is. So, interestingly, the episode opened with the Meacham dad, and I'm sorry, what was his name?
that. Harold?
Harold, right? It's not Ward. I know that much. All right, so Harold was in a tube, asleep, and I thought it was very reminiscent of Deadpool, especially when you consider the fact that he supposedly died of cancer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, now obviously they can't tie into the Deadpool movie, which is just really strange that creatively they would make that decision given the popularity of Deadpool and the whole like rights issues there. So
Yeah, and it kind of brings me back
but
again to
I did
the Daredevil. I don't know. Obviously, it's not the same tube, but if it is hand involvement, I wonder if there's some sort of magic at work there. They found some way to counteract what's killing him.
That's true, and we did see at the end of what was it, season 2, when Elektra was in her own little tube. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Now, I did find out, or did was kind of disappointed, I guess I should say, in this episode with Joy. I thought she was on board, but this episode really has her kind of wavering back and forth. So, I mean, initially
Yeah,
she wants.
yes, I had the same response as well. Whereas, like at the end of the last episode, I'd made some mention that it seemed like she was on the side of Danny, and then this episode made it a little bit less clear. Although they didn't exactly absolve her of being the one who gave Danny that piece of pottery. Like they said, oh well, maybe he stole it, but then there were a couple sort of shots of her face where she wasn't really giving away whether she had something to do with it. And he also did go and
That's a
see
good
her
point.
earlier in the episode too.
Yeah, well, and when she walks in, I mean, they make a point of her putting her keys down and then going back to look at it. So she was obviously the one
Yeah, good point.
that thought about it. So I think she's playing her brother quite a bit
Yeah,
in this one. They've just barely hinted at it, but I don't know any other way of them finishing up that arc.
I mean, I would almost prefer that scenario because I was really not happy with the way that she kind of conned the medical system into getting that guy a liver for his family member. I thought, man, she's still actually evil. So it'd be nice to see that she's actually trying to find her way out of the situation she's in.
Yeah, and I definitely don't think she's a
Yeah.
saint by any means. But I think she is gonna side with Danny long term.
So that's good. So do we think that there's a relationship there? I mean, I know there's kind of sort of brother and sister, right? I mean, do we think it would be anything more than that, or do you think they're saving that for Colleen Wing?
I honestly, I really don't know. I could see them going either way. the remark she made about when he's on her doorstep and she comes in like, oh, this could be construed as romantic or something like that. That kind of makes me think that they're kind of nudging it a little bit. I don't know how that would work as long as her dad and brother are in the picture. I think they would have to resolve that arc before anything could happen. And that may be, what she may end up switching sides, and that's how Danny ends up taking over. But
I feel like Colleen
Sure.
is more likely to be the love interest at this point, but I mean, if they do try to pull it with Joy as well, I just really hope that there's not like a love triangle going on. I just feel like there's not room in the show for that currently, but we'll see what happens.
Sure. And it is worth noting too in the comics that Danny Rand and Misty Knight have actually been known to have a relationship. So we've had Misty introduced on the Luke Cage series. So maybe he won't end up with anybody, and they'll just leave the door open for her.
yeah, could be.
So, Jaren shows up in this episode. We commented on the legal stuff. I thought it was funny that Danny referenced a nickname she apparently had, J Money. That was kind of funny. And man, she's a lot nicer on this show than she ever was on Jessica Jones or her appearance in Daredevil, if I remember correctly.
Well, I think she'll be pretty ruthless in her defense of Danny coming up. We already saw a little bit of it at the end there.
Well, yeah, she's definitely playing.
Yeah, that's actually something I'm kind of looking forward to.
Yeah, she's definitely in for herself too. Because look, she said the whole reason she's doing this is because she wants her firm to have, exclusive rights to the Rand. So I mean, she's definitely got something to gain.
Right. Sure. Now, earlier in the episode, we saw Harold training in his office, I guess. And there was a painting on the wall. Now, I didn't know if you guys heard while we were watching it. I'm guessing that's some sort of biblical reference because they commented that Kunlun is one of the steps or stages or something in heaven in the first episode. I forget the exact phrasing he used. Do you guys pick up on that at all, or did you recognize the artwork?
I do not recognize it.
Are you talking about the painting of the look almost like nude angels type of like? I got more of a Renaissance vibe. I didn't get a Kunlun vibe at all out of it, but
Well, no, and I don't mean to say I got a Kunlun vibe from it either. I just didn't know if it was some sort of famous painting that has to deal with battles between heaven and hell, and that's why it was in there, because they're equating Kunlun. So like, yeah. So
it's possible.
Look like
not
one
sure.
Of those, yeah, it does look like one of those kind of famous paintings. I can't immediately place it.
Sure.
And of course, we get a visit from Madame Gao. She's all in shadow, but she's definitely got her thumb on Harold.
Yeah. So just to remind me here, is she the leader of the Hand from Daredevil? Am I that character I wasn't immediately familiar with? Like it sounded familiar, but I couldn't place it.
She shows up in Daredevil season 2, but Greg, I don't think she's the leader of the Hand, is she? I think
No.
she's still a third party.
Okay.
Yeah, she's kind of got her own goals.
Oh, she's like the other drug dealer, right? It's been a while since I've watched season 2, so I'm trying to remember.
She was just another kind of one, like a kingpin of Hell's Kitchen.
I see. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, it's interesting to notice that Joy doesn't seem to know that her father is alive.
Yeah, that was surprising to me.
Yeah, I think she's completely oblivious, and I think if she does find out about it, I think that's going to push her even more towards Danny. The fact that she's been kept out of the loop, because she mentioned when she realized how much information Ward had on Danny, she said that she flat out said it pissed her off that she wasn't being kept in the loop. So, and that was just on a folder of information on a kid. I can only imagine if she finds out that her father's still alive, like. Which it could go the other way though. It could be the fact
she
that
doesn't even.
She finds out he's alive. She could be, Daddy, I'm home, blah blah blah. But
well, that would be a horrible swerve to throw away. But I could see them, doing that.
Yeah.
So, and she doesn't even know about the attack in the hospital either. When Danny very easily got into the records room.
Yeah.
So, but that was a nice moment, like you guys said earlier, with the rolling thunder punch, to see him, kind of take on a guy and break the knuckles right off of his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we see a Fight Club in this episode. Very similar, I think, to kind of what we saw in Luke Cage, although they didn't seem to suggest this one was being live streamed online or anything.
No, I think this is definitely more local. This was my favorite part of the episode. I loved getting to see Colleen just pop off, for lack of a better term. It was fantastic.
Right? So I was just wondering, what do you think is going on there? Because she basically chastised her student for being there. And she went, and at first I was like, oh, she's going to see what it's all about. But she really seemed to kind of like it at the end there.
Yeah, well, Colleen was one of the people roped into the Heroes for Hire later on in the 90s. So I wonder if this is almost her transition into becoming that sort of person, saving people for money or fighting for money.
Well, and I think part of it too with her student, I think she sees that he's got a future, and I think she's kind of, I don't know about where she wants to be, but I don't think she's planning long term. She's just thinking, hey, I need money to stay open. And I think she did enjoy it after the fact. Sure. I don't think she went in there planning on enjoying it as much as she did. But yeah, I think she was more chastising him just because he's, they mentioned scholarships, that kind of stuff. I think she's wanting to kind of get him out of the city, whereas she's just kind of trying to survive in it.
True. Maybe she even wants to bring the whole ring down so her kids don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
So it was nice to see that they called her Daughter of the Dragon. I forgot that that's one of her monikers in the comics.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because I wasn't sure. It sounded cool, but
but I think there's and I think that was actually the name of a comic book too. But I think Colleen falls under that category, and I think even Misty Knight on occasion does. I could be wrong, and guys, let us know in the comments. But I feel like that was a comic book title and kind of a group, not necessarily one person's name.
Gotcha. Okay.
The Daughters of the Dragon. So, all right. Well, what do we think about the end? Danny seems to be falling and possibly gonna, die. Obviously, that's not gonna happen, right?
Sure. Yeah, I think he grabs a ledge, or who knows. I guess they could go, crazy Iron Fist powers. Maybe that gets him out of it somehow. But he definitely got that's the second Game of Thrones similarity. I guess I've seen the push out the window, and then the what did he say? The Ward Meacham sends his regards or something like that in the second episode. But the fact that they have a cast member from Game of Thrones kind of made me just catch that a little more.
Multiple,
yeah.
Yep.
See, I'm only on the third episode of the series. I've actually just started it, so I haven't recognized anybody.
Oh
yet.
Yeah, she won't come in till 5 seasons in. Was it?
You'll see Finn Jones a lot sooner though. I think he's in season 1.
Yeah, Finn Jones is very early, but Jessica Henwick doesn't come in too much later, and it's a much smaller role.
Okay. Well, guys, that's our kind of wrap up of what we saw in this episode, what we thought was interesting. Thanks for sticking with us. If you want to keep up with us in the meantime until we get our fourth one out here, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at D21Beast. And Greg, where can they follow you?
Yoshimitsu47.
And Jeff, where can they follow you?
Forgotten Ex Jedi.
All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back soon with another review.